Hello, welcome back to Life on the Branch. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience trying to register for a vaccine, getting the vaccine, and my post-vaccine experience. If you follow my channel, you know that I currently reside in New Jersey with my husband. However, I am from Indiana. My driver's license is there, and I went to school in Pennsylvania, and then I have friends around the states, from college who've since moved, and also post-pandemic have gone back home, etc. This is going to be relevant in a moment. So obviously we thought we should register in New Jersey because we live in New Jersey. And my husband is an essential employee, so he qualified to be the third round. So he's had his first dose of the Moderna vaccine. However, I'm in one of the last groups. I have a history of some respiratory problems, but pretty far down the line due to age and working / doing school from home. There's no sign at all that New Jersey is going to be at my age bracket anytime soon. We have friends who are in their 50s who have just gotten registered for the vaccine, which is crazy, because comparatively in my home state of Indiana, a couple weeks ago they opened it to everybody 16 and over. My grandparents had the vaccine way earlier. My parents are both teachers, so they got the vaccine in third draft, but now it's 16 and over. And I think there's a couple reasons why that is, and I'm going to get into that in a second. So if you're an Indiana resident, you can get vaccinated if you're 16 and over. So Indiana, the state, has been texting me to let me know I can register in Indiana. So I went ahead, and when I knew that they were opening it up to 16 plus, I registered in Indiana for the vaccine for May, because that was the earliest appointment, and I was trying to get appointments where I wouldn't have to travel back and forth. That's not super quarantine friendly, but then also that I could get both doses before my wedding, which is in June. But then one of my friends and we're both going through pretty hard times at the moment, and so I went to go and visit her because she's and her whole family is vaccinated and quarantined and working from home. So I was like, okay, well, if they're fine with it, I'm fine with it, whatever. So I went there and I stayed at their house just for a few days. But while I was there, so their house is in Texas, and in Texas, anybody 16 and over can get vaccinated. Anybody. So her mom was like, hey, well, while you're here, do you want to get vaccinated? And I was like, there is no way. This is because we planned this, again, because we were both not doing well. It was a very last minute trip. So I was like, there's no way you're going to get an appointment for the 4 days that I am there. Because I registered day one in Indiana for 16 plus, and it took a month and a half was the earliest appointment. And then I was like, but I can't come back. So I was like, so you have to get me the Johnson & Johnson single dose shot, because I'm not flying to Texas twice. Miraculously, in my mind, because again, in New Jersey, I guess August, I would maybe get vaccinated. Indiana, May, and now like Texas. Yeah, just come into the CVS. Which one do you want? Here. Okay. Crazy. So miraculously, her mom found a CVS an hour away from their house that was doing the single dose Johnson & Johnson one. And I was like, woo. And big shout out to her family for taking me, because literally, I am so grateful to be vaccinated. I just had to go in, I showed them my ID, so I showed them my passport, and then there was no line, like the person in front of me had just gotten their vaccine, and then once they finished, it was me. I sat down, I was like, do you need to see my insurance? Do you need to see, like, anything? Like, no. I was like, okay, I'm on like a bunch of medication. They're like, well, is any of it blood thinners? I was like, no. And they were like, okay, well, no, you're fine. And then it's just like, comparatively to other vaccines and shots and blood tests that I've had over the years, relatively uneventful shot. Just right there. And then they were like, okay, now go wait over in the chairs for 15 minutes just to see that you're fine, and then you can leave. And I was like, what? That's it? 15 minutes later, we're back in the car driving back to her house. And I was like, that is crazy how easy that was. It's free. I didn't have to pay anything. I didn't have to show insurance. It almost felt like you could have walked in and just gotten one, which is crazy compared to like New Jersey. And then after the vaccine, my arm was a little bit stiff, but it really wasn't that bad. But once I did come home, so a couple days later, I think maybe like the happiness of being with people, my friends, wore off, and I just like, I've been exhausted. I like slept for 2 days. It's been a time. But I have not had like the fever. I have not had a fever. I haven't had chills. My appetite's been normal. Everything's been like fine. It's been like fine, except for the tiredness, which for me like could be the vaccine, could be the medications I'm on for my depression and anxiety, could just be my depression. Correlation is not causation. So aside from the arm stiffening thing, there was not really any proven side effects that I experienced. The timing also happened to be really good because they just stopped a bunch of like vaccines from Johnson & Johnson because science. So now I'm just waiting for my 2 weeks. Obviously, still gonna wear a mask, like double masking inside, obviously, and still taking all the same precautions with our wedding that we were gonna take before. But it really has helped put my mind at ease, because just like for my family, and now like my whole family will be vaccinated, so it means that we can like see each other, which is gonna be really nice. It was very difficult this summer, like just and for everybody, in general, pre-vaccine, the constant stress of like is this like worth getting together, or am I like going to like kill somebody by accident? Stress, I'm just really gonna be excited when that is over and when everybody is vaccinated. So get vaccinated. I did want to talk about the 3 different state experiences and my thoughts behind these different states. So New Jersey, it's I think the most densely populated state. Like we have some big cities, but it's not like New York City or Chicago or Philly or whatever, but it's just everything that there's not like space in New Jersey. So I think like the population to hospital like ratio, there could be something to that. Also, I think a lot of it has to do with belief in vaccines. New Jersey being on the East Coast tends to be more liberal. It's not the most liberal East Coast state by far, but there's not that many anti-vaxxers relative to Indiana. Before the pandemic, like before these recent vaccines, on my Facebook feed from my former like classmates of mine from Indiana, many of them posted anti-vax stuff. There's like science, long-term studies behind all of these like vaccines. Like, you just weren't alive to see how bad these diseases were, but if you were, you would definitely be taking these vaccines. Now, the pandemic, we have all of those anti-vax people from before in Indiana, plus people who are skeptical of just this being a new vaccine, not wanting to be guinea pigs. There's a lot of people who like can't get vaccinated. One of my cousins like cannot get vaccinated because of their immune system being so non-existent because of her Prader-Willi syndrome. So it's always bothered me that people like don't get vaccinated because it affects people who don't have a choice. Also, like under a certain age, people can't be vaccinated. So you're relying on the herd immunity of the adults. Like, I understand that this vaccine is new. Like, I didn't study science. Like, I'm not gonna make the case for a vaccine, to get a vaccine. But I wanted to share my experience because it was a positive one, like the actual getting a vaccine, but also just the discrepancy in states and what that means for the US. I had the financial well-being to like fly to a state where I could get vaccinated and come back. Obviously, not everyone has the means to do so. Additionally, registering in New Jersey is a huge hassle, to the point where some dude basically made a Twitter feed, like notification thing that you can put on your Twitter. I don't use Twitter. It's gonna be obvious from the way I'm phrasing this, but you can get a notification every time an appointment opens up, so that you can apply to try and get that appointment, which is how Stan got his appointment after like a month of having this app on, because he did qualify, but there were no appointments open, could not register for any of them, even though his group was like technically able to register. The ability to use technology is critical to getting your vaccine, which poses, limitations on, families that don't have great internet access, or age, like capabilities, like the capability to do these things. Most websites that I've seen have multiple language options, but especially if you don't speak like English or Spanish, language is going to be an issue. Having a state-issued ID, not everybody has one. I think some states require photo IDs. I'm pretty sure Texas did. So that would be either like a state ID or a driver's license or a passport. And those aren't free, and nor are they easy to attain right now. So if you didn't already have one, trying to wait in line at the DMV, at least in New Jersey, for any reason, is a freaking nightmare. Also, they're not free. So if we think about like the homeless or the impoverished, having the finances to like purchase it and travel to and fro to get it creates a barrier. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, both in the short term, like I said, with the advantages of being able to access the vaccine earlier, but then in the long term, being able to reach herd immunity. If you've gotten vaccinated, leave your experiences in the comments below. I'm particularly interested, like, what state did you get vaccinated in, what the state you're in, what are they vaccinating? Like 65 plus, 50 plus, essential workers, teachers, any employee, like what is the level that your state is at? I hope that if you want the vaccine, you get access to it quickly. I hope you have as minimal side effects as I did, and I hope you found this video interesting. I don't know. I've been like reading everything I can about other people's experiences with vaccines, so I thought I would just put my experiences out there. If you want to see more of our content, it's never about this. But click subscribe and ding the bell button to know when we post, which is every day. And I hope you have a wonderful day and hopefully soon a pandemic-free future. Bye.